We just heard some troubling statistics regarding sexually transmitted diseases in South Carolina. Among the resources here to provide testing and education is Palmetto Community Care. Let's welcome Richard Reams, Director of Development and Marketing. Glad to have you back.
Oh, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure.
So we just heard a lot of numbers coming out of recent statistics, focusing a lot on chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. And we're seeing amongst those three some upticks. We're also seeing a downtrend in some. But as far as HIV goes, it sounds like that's on the rise. Is there a reason why we're seeing more numbers?
Obviously, it's always a complex issue with why you see rises. A lot of it's still coming out of COVID. People didn't get tested for a little while, so there's more testing available. So the more you're able to test, the more you're able to identify, which is good that we're able to identify. But the other flip side is the rise is more people are being infected, and so it's kind of a both and.
Because we've done a lot of work as a society and the world over to diminish those numbers since the 1980s, and we have seen a precipitous fall in numbers. Do you think people are getting a little too comfortable?
I think, yes, I do. I think it's not talked about as much. I know it's strange how many times in my job when I talk about what I do, they say, "Oh, HIV is still a thing." Did you think
really? People say that?
Because you think in the 90s it was everywhere. Everybody talked about it, and then it's like, oh, okay, well now we've got this great medical treatment. You can live a full, healthy life, which is all incredible. But then it's kind of been pushed to the side, and maybe that's got to do with education or stigma in the South. There's all kinds of varieties, but if you're not talking about it, then people just aren't aware. And so that's why we like to say it's crucial to know your status, just so you can know your options.
What about all of the therapies that are out there now? You know, we see a lot of one common one, PrEP, that prevents from the transmission of HIV. Does that make it just a little too comfortable, assuming maybe that someone is taking it, or just the level of knowledge when they're engaging in sexual activity with a partner that they're not taking it as seriously?
I don't know if I would say it that way. I think that sometimes it has to do with just having the conversation, is helping people feel empowered and equipped to talk about a status with your partner, to have an understanding and a realization that if you are sexually active, then you need to be regularly tested, and there should be no stigma to that, whether you identify as this, that the CDC recommends regular HIV testing for anybody who's sexually active. And then for those who might fit the category for elevated risk, well, now let's talk about PrEP. Let's talk about what safer sex practices look like. Let's normalize conversations about healthy sex conversations so that people can understand that with contraceptives, with safer sex practices, with PrEP, if everybody has those conversations, you can virtually eliminate the possibility of transmitting HIV. But people have to feel comfortable having that conversation.
Can we talk about one of those conversations? What does one of those conversations sound like? Because let's face it, seriously though, because I think, you know, you meet someone, you start dating, you're falling in love, whatever the case may be, and very few times do people say, "Can you tell me your status first?"
Sure.
So what does the conversation actually look like?
Well, I feel like as soon as you say that, I think, man, I've been in a committed monogamous relationship for 20 years now, so I don't know what,
like
you know. But I would say, one, we do offer, that is something that we offer. We have various support groups at PCC to help people talk about how to disclose their status if they are living with HIV or if they're in relationships. I think part of it is really just saying, hey, are you a part of regular testing? Have you ever been tested? And if somebody's like, that's none of your business, well, you know, if you're gonna share some intimate things, you should probably share some intimate details.
Right. Well, it's true. It is true. I think a lot of people are afraid to broach the subject because they don't want to turn the person off.
Right.
You know, if they really like them, you know, they're just willing to kind of throw caution to the wind.
And yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all. No, I want to know.
I mean, I think they can, right? I mean, that's a decision that a person can make. We would encourage you not to do that. As I've heard people say, is if you're ready to make that physical decision, there are some other decisions we would encourage you to make as well.
Absolutely.
To say, hey, if you're adult enough to do this,
Yeah.
you should be adult enough to talk about that.
Right, that's true. Yeah, you have a right to know.
You do.
And it's,
Absolutely.
And it's a privilege if you want to go any further than
Sure.
that. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we only have a couple seconds
Okay.
left. You do have bingo coming
We
up.
do. Yep.
So that's going to be in June.
Yep,
So
June
we'll have
13th.
you come back to talk about
Absolutely.
that. And just for people who want more information, resources, education, testing.
Yes.
It's all very confidential. All they
Absolutely.
need to do is to go to your facilities.
Yep. Yeah, we're at 5064 Rivers Avenue. We have a medical center on site, a pharmacy, mental health, free HIV and STI testing, fast, free, and confidential.
Yeah.
That's all important. And so if
And you go out into rural communities
we
too.
do. We also have our mobile testing unit. You
Yeah.
can find that on our community map, or if somebody has a business or a nonprofit or an event, a health screening at their church, we can bring that up, we can bring that truck there,
Sure.
and offer health screenings as a way of coming in and helping.
Fantastic. Thank you so
Yep,
much, Richard.
thanks so much.
Appreciate your time. We're back after this.